So imagine the A-Team if George Papard was played by the comedian from Watchmen and Mr. T was a fine Puerto Rican chick.
I will correct you on one thing, though. I don't think Mr. T was played by the girl you're saying. I think it was played by Jack Skellington. So
A black Jack Skellington.
Well, I don't know. It looked like she put on a little tiny bit of weight since Death at the Funeral.
well, that's true. You could see the sandwich outline in her stomach.
Right.
Hey,
She ain't quite digested it yet.
hey, does she have a vagina? I'll do her. All right.
I think her vagina weighs more than the rest of her does.
Throw her my way like a toothpick. Yeah, I'll take her from you.
This is based on a comic book. You mentioned this before.
Yeah, written by Andy Diggle, who what is it he took over recently?
Daredevil.
Daredevil.
Does he go to parties as a clown too? Diggle's a clown.
I know, right?
Like
That's
that,
true. That's true. That guy obviously had middle school was hell for that guy.
Yeah, that is an unfortunate last name to
But
have.
he's a decent writer. He really is. It's just that the original graphic novel was nowhere near one of his best works to begin with.
I don't know what his good works are because I'm not digging his Daredevil, and I started to read the losers to prepare for this movie, and I couldn't even finish it. I was like, man, this is like the art is bad because you can't tell which character is which, and story. Okay, you about to rag on this for like not having much character. It still has a whole lot more than that graphic novel.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say.
Yes.
This is really different from the graphic novels in a lot of ways. Like, it takes the best scenes out of it, and it kind of makes up all the rest of it.
I was against...
which is fine, because the book is so convoluted and kind of stupid and not funny, then I was going, how are they going to make this into a good movie?
Imagine this movie without any of the humor in it. Because one thing this movie has going for it is a lot of humor.
It centers on a group of people who, they're a black ops unit working for the CIA, and they get set up to where they're supposed to be assassinated, but they live through the attempt, and now they're not only going after the guy that did it to them, but they have to deal with this mysterious girl who came up, and they don't know what side she's on. So,
well, let's be clear here. Now, it wasn't so much that they were set up to be assassinated, because the movie has a mustache twirling villain if there ever was one. No, he's just pissed off because they won't kill a busload of kids in order to take out the target, so he kills them just as like collateral. Well, this is what you get for not like obeying my orders and killing the children, because I was ready to masturbate and everything, and now here I am with my dick in my hand and nothing to get off to.
Well, consider how casually he kills everybody else. I got a feeling he was going to kill them no matter what.
All right, I got eyes on Monsieur Fadil. Paint it.
Showtime, fellas. Go ahead and call me Michelangelo.
Drop kick, this is Pinball. Request fire mission. The target is lased, and you are clear to make a run from north to south. Over.
Roger, Pinball. Target acquired and locked. Be advised, ETA fireworks 08 mics.
Roger, we'll break out the earplugs.
Boss.
They're using kids as mules. Call it in.
Dropkick, we have children at target site. Repeat, we have eyes on children at target site. Please advise.
Acknowledged. Maintain position.
We strongly recommend cancellation of the payload delivery.
Your orders stand. We lock coordinates the moment you paint it. Delivery will occur on schedule.
Jensen, contact the plane directly. Call on aboard.
I'm trying. He's jamming us. There's nothing I can do.
There's something we can do.
All right, here it is. 5 against the fortress. We got maybe, 8 minutes before an airstrike sets the world on fire.
Plenty of time.
But you do have Jason Patrick playing Lex Luthor's little brother throughout this movie.
Even worse. Come on, man.
that guy,
Luthor would be like, dude, tone it down.
No, that guy was a comic book character. Not even a comic book character. He was just a cartoon character about as ridiculous as Daffy Duck being a villain.
Yes,
I mean, this guy. And the other annoying thing about it is they tried to make him seem so fucking cool that life is cheap around him. Like he'll shoot you for holding an umbrella the wrong way.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, really? I mean, come on. What are you trying to get across here? I get it. He's a bad guy. Okay, I fucking get it already.
They're like, look how comic booky this movie is, isn't it? Wink, wink. Comic booky? He's so evil. And these characters, they're fun and wacky with unlimited ammo and all the stuff we've seen a billion times before. But it doesn't work because it's trying so hard to convince us that look how much fun this is. It's just all good-natured comic book fun that it just becomes irritating.
Well, I thought it worked in the beginning with the opening scene up until the opening credit. They show the name The Losers. I was like, you know what? This movie, it seems like it can be fun, a lot of action, style. It's playing into the comic book thing, but it's moving at a good pace, and I'm willing to go with it. I'm here to have a good time. But then it starts to slow down. And once the movie slows down, you can't help but notice how stupid it is.
You mean like the 18th time in the first 15 minutes that they show them all walking in slow motion?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. It's like, yeah, they slow down long enough for your brain to catch up and go like, wait a minute.
The most interesting character in it is the girl who's brought in late, who's like this like shadowy figure. Like she's totally psycho. Like they're the whole time, don't even touch her. Don't hit on her, anything. She will fucking kill you whether you're part of the team or not. Now, did you get any of that watching Zoe Saldana?
No, I did not. And I'll tell you why. Because that girl needs to eat a couple of quarter pounders.
She's so skinny.
I know Finn is in, but that's where goddamn different.
She's so skinny, you can tell she doesn't have any muscles. You can tell what she had for breakfast.
When that scene where she's shooting off that rocket launcher, I was expecting her to fly off the screen in one direction and the missile running off in the other.
I'm just serious. I mean, the girl ain't even strong enough to pick up a missile launcher, much less fire one. I mean, come on, the girl's so skinny, she propels herself forward when she farts.
I look at her and I wonder, where do your internal organs go? There's no room.
The only way that she should be in an action film is if it's like an adaptation of Stick Figures Theater.
I mean, I'm talking about it, but I take her.
She's still fucking hot.
You'd take her, and 2 seconds later, she would snap into like an old twig.
I know. I'm sitting up there crying with 2 pieces of her in my hand. I don't know what happened.
I'd be like, Corey, bring me out a piece of that Slim Jim.
It'd be like trying to thread an extension cord through a needle.
I know. I didn't even barely touch her. I just stroked her hair, and this happened. The biggest problem with this is watching a goddamn rap video through the whole thing. I mean, it is one of the movies that irritates me the most for what it's trying to be, and because of what it's trying to do to impress us, it makes the rest of the movie suffer. It's trying to be so cool, and not even with the characters so much, but it's trying to be so cool with the camera tricks because the editing is choppy. They do a lot of slow motion for no reason, and all this stuff gets in the way of making us feel good about these guys. I mean, the losers are rounded off by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Columbus Short, what's his name? Captain America.
Chris Evans.
Chris Evans and some Mexican dude that we ain't never heard of before. So,
he has like 2 lines in the whole goddamn movie.
But he was
speaking English, I guess.
He talked with his bullets.
You know what
Oscar Haynada, but all those guys.
Well, Idris Elba, don't forget him.
Idris Elba, and they all. I mean, you like those guys because look, they're not bad actors. We know that they can act. They're just giving all these little snappy lines to say that don't really work.
Sometimes they work. To be fair, there are moments that you're like, wow, okay, that was funny.
No, but
That's
the thing with the movie is that it's not the action that works in it. Every now and then, everybody, no matter how bad you think they are at a certain point in the movie, will be in a scene that is either funny because of the characters they're surrounded by or because they say something funny.
Yeah, and to be fair, Chris Evans is probably the funniest guy in this movie, and that's maybe because he's more of a natural comedian than everybody else who's in this already.
He's probably ad-libbing a lot, but they gave him more of the humor stuff to do.
Yeah, I mean,
he still got on my nerves.
The best scene in the whole movie is with him. In my opinion.
Well, all that shit that makes him funny is all in the trailer, though. That's the problem.
That is the problem.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, everybody's really funny at one point, and then it's cut short by 5 other scenes that aren't funny. Yeah, Chris Evans is funny in the movie. I really liked him. I mean, I think he's the most likable guy because he's the one that's he's the one that's trying to be the least macho.
True.
But then he goes into like that scene in the elevator where he's like, oh, I can shoot people with my mind. And that scene goes on forever. And I'm thinking like, that's not funny. But before that, he was going around singing Journey.
Yeah.
And then they actually cut in the song into a scene, and it's like, that's kind of inspired. I wish the rest of this movie could be like this.
I thought that was inspired. I thought that was funny, but then they went on with it for too long.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, it was funny until you just made it the complete opposite of that.
This is directed by Sylvan White, the guy who did Stump the Yard, which is why you probably see Columbus Short in here. He puts too much emphasis on trying to come across as a comic book movie. And I think he confuses being comic book with being overly edited, overly stylized, and overly cool. And in the movie, that's really what the movie suffers from. It wouldn't have been a great action film anyway because we've seen this all before.
No.
I don't even know why they make a big deal about this being a comic book because they try to they even put frames in the movie and artwork to show like, oh, see, this is a comic book film. But it's like, no, this is not a comic book film. This really is the A-Team.
Well, that's the problem. It's when you read the comic book. Reading the comic book is like, why is this a comic book? This is more of just a lame action movie.
It feels like a Roger Moore era James Bond film in a lot of ways. It gets that silly. In fact, there were points, I'm pretty sure they were running tributes to Roger Moore James Bond films in it. It's like, wow, wait, this is that scene from A View to a Kill. I remember this.
The thing is, this movie should have been called The Fucking Idiots, because those guys could have easily rented any other action film to see how all this would have ended. You know, they would have known the major plot points, things that they shouldn't be doing that they actually are doing. You know, and that's why this film suffers, because if you were to take out all the special effects, all the razzmatazz of this fucking film, you would have a very boring, very cliche, cookie cutter action film.
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden they're like, wow, we really shot a very boring film. What can we do to spice it up? Well, it is a comic book. How about we have some scenes just stop out of nowhere, turn into comic book frames? Kids love that, right? I think they do.
While I'm saying that these actors are okay and they get along well, those are the actors, not these characters, because these characters, you don't feel anything for these characters.
They are fucking uninteresting. Yeah, I could care less if they all get blown up in a truck. I wouldn't have cared.
The thing is, they watch a helicopter of kids die, and for them, the emotion is just staring off into the camera. Yeah. And then like 5 minutes later, like, hey, oh, wait a minute, remember? We're cool. We got to walk in slow motion. But
I actually like this cast. I think it's a solid cast.
I do too.
And you're excited at first because you're like, you know what? These guys are kind of funny. I kind of like the way that they work together. Yeah. But then the script won't let them do anything that would seem natural for this at all.
Imagine how much worse it would have been if we had shitty actors paired up with this script.
Yeah. It would have been intolerable in that case. And as it is,
that movie's called The A-Team, by the way.
I know. It's like we're talking bad about this movie, but let's see when we see the A-Team. We coming back going like, hey man, I thought the Losers wasn't that bad.
Well, the only reason this movie got made was clearly because the A-Team movie was on the horizon.
We are getting a lot of tough guy macho movies now because of the A-Team coming along. I mean, we got
it's the same story.
Yeah, we got the Expendables coming up. You know, I mean, we got
that's right,
and they all have their own little gimmick. But with this, not only the characters are not really anything you care for, but they are also inconsistent. I mean, there are betrayals that happen here that are either run of the mill or don't make sense. But the thing that got me the most, Zoe Saldana is the mysterious chick who comes in, who hires them to go after Max, the CIA guy that they were supposed to be assassinated by. She finds out there's a secret that's revealed, and it makes her very angry with what's his name? Jeffrey D. Morgan?
Yeah,
Harry D. Morgan?
Captain Morgan.
Harry D. Morgan's from MASH.
Harry D.
That's what they call him Colonel. He's just like, don't call me Colonel. Yeah. Call me Captain Morgan.
Call me Captain Morgan, a gay pirate.
You got a little captain in you.
In this movie, him and Zoe Saldana, there's something going on between them. She finds out some secret. It makes her very angry at, and what's his name? Jeffrey D. Morgan?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's very angry at him, and she's telling him throughout about the last third of the film, she's like, this thing between you and I, that's not over. We're going to continue this dance. But in the next scene, they're watching soccer games together, like just chilling and they're out there drinking champagne, celebrating things, just like nothing happened.
Well, that's the kind of thing that happens when you have a movie with 17 endings. Yeah. I mean, the movie that went off, it's like, oh wait, here's another scene.
When she talks about, don't think I've forgotten about this, but yeah, she's out hanging out at games, like she's eating, she's eating at the Red Lobster, going, don't think I've forgotten. Hey, can you give me that cocktail sauce, by the way?
Yeah, I'm surprised they're not having sex in the next scene, and he's like, don't think I'm not still mad at you.
But all I'm thinking is like, you know what? They're gonna wait for the fucking sequel, which I'm dying to see. No, I'm not dying to see.
It's not gonna be a sequel. They really do try to set up a James Bond thing. Yeah, I mean, they try to set up this thing. It doesn't even make sense. She's like, I'm going to kill you. Yeah. But before that, here's the good friend. That is kind of special.
That's because the director doesn't take the film seriously. Honestly, he strikes me as one of those guys who's read one comic book in his life, and it's The Losers. He's like, okay, I guess I can do this. It's a paycheck. Fuck.
Yeah. And but I got to admit, I don't think Jason Patrick is good in this movie at all. I think I think he's a little bit just, like you said, over the top with his villainy. But I liked it. I like that. I know it's not good. Maybe it's because that was the rest of the movie was just so dry to me. But there were some scenes where he was either being so terrible that it was funny, or he actually delivered some good lines.
I think that's the entire movie, where it's like, man, there's so much of it that's bad, and every so often it'll do something, as Cyrus said, something kind of cool, something actually genuinely funny, and then sometimes like, all right, I'll go with it, but then it'll get boring. Yeah. It just kept. It's the epitome of uneven.
The problem with that villain is that he would have made a perfect villain in an Austin Powers movie. Not so much in this one.
Really?
Well, he feels like
Yeah.
he feels like he's almost a non sequitur. He's so like ridiculously evil because he is out of touch with the rest of the movie. Everything's comic booky, but he's like from a completely different comic book.
Oh, yeah.
Like, are you even reading the same script here, people?
He's from a completely different show. He should have been on Pokemon.
Well, I mean, it's to the point where it's like, wait, how does this guy get to be any kind of director of the CIA? It's like they try to start it out like they're really working for the government. They got screwed by a real shadow op guy and they got to get him. But the longer it goes on, the more it's like, none of this is connected.
And they try to make him like a Bond supervillain almost. He has a glove that he wears on one hand because one hand is something's wrong with it. We don't know at the beginning of the movie. And then the movie goes on to say, oh, but wait a minute, the adventures are not over. The losers have found their nemesis. you know, so it's like
Dr. Claus.
Yeah, not this again. Okay, we're not gonna see a sequel to this shit. All right, I highly doubt it.
What's worse is that it's totally unimportant. That whole thing, they keep calling your attention to it. I mean, the guy's got fancy Michael Jackson gloves, his single glove. Like, don't talk about my hand. You're not supposed to notice that. Well, then why is it covered in sequins, dude?
I know.
And then you finally find out what it is just through a shot, an angle, and it's like, really, that's it?
That's it?
You're never even going to discuss it. It's never going to come up. It's not going to figure into the plot in any way. Why was it even there?
Well, see, the next time they'll be like, you know what? Instead of that glove, try some aloe with lanolin.
Yeah.
They'll be like,
Don't masturbate so hard.
It feels so much better now.
It's like, aren't you one of the richest men in the world? Are you telling me you seriously can't fix that?
You
I'm
can't
sorry.
get a new hand, as rich as you are. I mean, with those gloves he was wearing, he should have moonwalked into it. Losers, I'm gonna get you. Anyway, you know what? I
would have pulled his fucking glove off and slapped him. What the fuck are you doing, dude?
Oh, wait. What did you guys think of the weapon? The Snoop.
Oh, we didn't even. Oh, you know what? I'm so glad you mentioned that. That's where the movie really lost me. They show a scene in this movie where Island gets sucked into the ocean. You're thinking like,
I thought it was going to come up with the words "lost."
Oh yeah. Well, I thought it was gonna cut to somebody playing a video game, or they were like, oh wow, it's a cool simulation. And let's see the real thing. And it's like, and they cut to Jason Patrick. He's like, impressive, isn't it? I destroyed the whole island. He's like, oh Jesus.
I was like,
okay.
Yeah.
You
lost me.
You spent all this money on this completely accessible, unnecessary special effects sequence that has almost nothing to do with anything,
and makes the movie worse.
Could have completely been replaced by a simple, like a thermonuclear bomb. There's no reason for it to be there.
It was a fucking Star Trek weapon, and I was like, really? You're trying to sell this to me in this movie?
What's even more
what the fuck am I
embarrassing?
watching here?
It's like so you're trying to create a layered villain because he's like, it's green, it's ecologically friendly weapon. And they're like, oh well, I like him now.
Oh okay.
I can identify with this villain.
You know what?
He's got
again,
my
comes back to them trying to like, you know what? This movie's not comic book enough. It can't simply be a nuclear missile. We gotta make it like a what was it? A matter degenerator or something. I was like, oh Jesus, fucking script degenerated at this point. Anyway, the movie made me laugh in certain parts. Not thrilled by anything else except those few scenes where I actually really did get a serious laugh, and I'm talking about probably 3 scenes. So I give it a rental.
Yeah, I think we're right there on that. I was so worried. I thought you were going to say I give it a matinee. No, I don't know. I can never tell with you because you'll say something like that, you'll lead into it, and then you'll give some rating, and it has nothing to do with what you just said. No, but this time I do 100% with you. It's one of those films like, sure, why not? Rent it. Have a couple beers, watch it. You'll laugh a few times. You'll be like, yeah, at least I was home for that. At least I could watch it in my underwear.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, I enjoyed it so much more than reading the graphic novel, and had some good performances and some good chemistry with the characters, and a lot of action. I mean, you know what? Screw you guys. I got to give it a rental.
Jesus.
Good impression.
It doesn't work as well as it does. Leave it to the master.
Well, like I said, I've seen this bullshit before one too many times. I've seen it done better on the actual A-Team show. If this was a comic book, I mean, the Daffy Duck comic book had more action than this fucking movie did. Yeah. And I didn't care for any of the cliched fucking characters. Once again, nobody really made me laugh, and I just did not give a fuck about anything going on in this movie. I'm giving it some
full
old
price
fucking bullshit.
Wow.
Yeah. You want to know why? Because you try to sell me a movie that is supposed to pump me up, get me excited, and you completely fail on all levels. Fuck you. No. Yeah.
Damn,
that's harsh.
That is harsh.
So it's not even some old bullshit then? Is it a fuck you?
It's some old bullshit.
Okay.
I like the way you like having
He's having grace and mercy.
Yeah.
Let him eat cake.
I'm feeling generous today.
The losers fade.
I'm
sorry I hit you in the face. I'm sorry I threatened to cut your head off.
Don't you two feel so much better?
No.